Want to know who we are? Let's start here. We do this, that, and we make all of these. We're here to connect and power just about everything around you. We help you save energy. We're not trying to save the world, but we are making the most of our energy and resources and making access to energy and digital basic human rights. Life is on.
What about the C-suite? What do they need to see in terms of a controls project to calculate cost versus value and ultimately ensure that they're making a profitable decision? Vic, maybe you could start us off on that one.
Sure. So in my experience, I've seen several things put on the table to analyze cost versus value. From a control system upgrade perspective, for example, whether replacement hardware is available for the existing legacy system or not, the difficulty in finding professional resources to support the system is also a big factor to ensure, extended production downtime is avoided. Because if you have a problem and you can't get parts, you've got a significant problem. And senior control decision makers typically consider and want to see a variety of factors before making their decision. One, today there is more focus on control systems integration and ease and capabilities, allowing access and sharing of data within the control system landscape. The ability of the control system to intelligently communicate to associated control products, whether they're simple push buttons or pilot lights or sensors, circuit breakers, UPSs, motion control, things of that nature, and thus lowering the total cost of the overall control system while providing a quantum leap in the diagnostics. The ease of transporting data to external databases, whether on-prem or on cloud, that's in many cases a consideration. Not that they may invoke it today, but they want that capability for the future. They realize there's some value in that data. And this is really future-proofing the control system and making sure it will accommodate Industry 4.0, Industry 5.0, and beyond. Also, from a control system functionality perspective, we see increased requirements for things such as ability to do poka-yoke or error-proofing, calculating and providing visibility to cell or production line KPIs, as well as a higher level of in-production quality monitoring. So, when they're looking at making a decision, are these things on the table for their consideration? As well, an overall strategy or roadmap on how the controls project can leverage all the current and potential future technology, even though it may not be immediately implemented. So these are some of the components that we see that, typically decision makers kind of look at or ask, what would the system give me in this regards and that regards? And 5 years out, am I going to be changing this control system again? What future proofing is there in it?
Okay, thank you. Christian, what have you experienced as you're working with manufacturers to integrate these systems? What does the C-suite need to see?
Well, it's a really good question because when you deal with a standard control projects, then you'll probably be looking for ROI of 2 years, depending on the type of business you have. But what we like to sometimes I wear the hat of an association, and when I give presentation, what I want to bring people's attention to is kind of a different approach when you're doing a big transformation. So again, it's a transformation, so it can be 4.0 or whatever, but when you're transforming, it's often hard to come up with an aggressive ROI. So it's much more going to be on the 4 or 5 numbers. So what we like to shed light on is the collateral benefit of digitalization. So this sounds pretty great. Sometimes direct cost benefit are not enough to make a project to go. But if you take a step back, automation, digitalization, 4.0, IoT, call it what you want. But this can definitely help in different ways, such as employee attraction and retention, quality control, production prediction, preventive maintenance. So yes, if you go to production and you ask for a budget to improve your machine, maybe you're not going to have enough money. But if you go to see quality, if you go see HR, if you go see production, if you go see maintenance, maybe you're going to chip in some money. So, and in the end, maybe you're not going to hit your 2.2 ROI target, but still, you got to convince your C-level, or C-level will be convinced with, okay, it's a transformation. So I'm going to be in much better days later on. So my point is, initially, your project may not be profitable in itself, but if you consider integrating it into your big picture, then it takes a lot more value.
Mm-hmm. So, and Christina, I'd like to add on this, because we see a lot of this in our business, especially when we're talking to the C-suite and some of our larger projects, is the need to talk about sustainability. We see this being a very common theme at the C-suite today, where when we're talking about big projects and we're talking to our customers, I think the C-suite players want to see what is the return on investment. Yes, very important, but also how is industrial control systems allowing them to meet their sustainability goals. We know if you look at the bigger companies and bigger organizations, not just in Canada but globally, I think there's been a commitment at the C-suite to have sustainability goals. And I think part of the return on investment, not necessarily from a monetary perspective, but from a corporate social responsibility perspective and from an environment perspective, I think C-suite is very interested to understand what is the sustainability goals that can be achieved. And I think a lot of the times that's where you find that they could be a little bit more flexible in terms of cost. Maybe they're going to be a little bit more flexible in terms of the ROI from a monetary perspective. They know they're going to achieve a sustainability goal. So I think we see a lot of that coming into play nowadays.